Acorn unleavened bread for Passover. Alright guys, in this video we're going to talk about how to make acorn unleavened bread. We're going to show you the process from the very beginning of getting the acorns, processing them, producing flour, all the way to the end to make unleavened bread. Don't worry, we're going to show you this for the process of the acorns because we had great fun doing this and it's a great thing to share. But even if you don't do the acorns, it's just a little bit of approach on how we can how we go about making unleavened bread. I'm not saying it's the best way. I'm certainly not saying it's the best way, but I thoroughly enjoy the unleavened bread that we get as a result of our acorn flour. We do combine that with a fine flour and a fine wheat, okay? And those combined produces a unleavened bread for Passover. So we're going to use very simple tools, very simple approach. We have a kind of like generic like meat hand grinder. That's how we're going to grind the acorns. We'll show you the process to separate them. We do have a sieve here, which we use to separate and keep grinding. And the process takes a long time, guys. We're not going to do the whole process because once you separate the tannin, what the tannin is, that's the bitter taste in the acorns. That process takes a few weeks, 2 or 3 weeks, so we're not going to do that all in this video. We'll just show you a little bit here and there. All right, now what we're going to do is we're going to show you the process of going from the acorns, which you see in the middle box. We have our acorns, and we have on our right side in the red bowl, we have the shells and the bad acorns. And then our left side, we have the good acorns that we'll use to process. So here, I'm quickly showing worms, I'm showing bad acorns. If the acorn is brown on the outside, it's gone bad. It's most likely bad in the inside. So we're basically just separating the acorns. The ones that are good quality, we're taking some pliers. We're taking those pliers, turning each end of the acorn. And in doing so, we can then get the nut of the inside of the acorn out. It'll separate in 2 pieces. We take those 2 pieces, and that's what's going on the bowl on the left. Okay, and we're in the time period of the spring processing acorns. Now, the acorns first fall from the tree in the fall, and you can do them then. But now, 6 months later, we have preserved our acorns, but many of them have gone bad through worms. They've gone bad by just becoming too hard and becoming rotten. So we're only getting about 25 to 33% of our acorns that we can actually process. So take notice of the size of the bowls as we separate them. And here you can see our end result, where you see the good acorns there on the left and all the shells and the bad ones on the right. So a significant number of bad acorns that we weren't able to use. Now we're showing you here, now we're going to grind the acorns down, and we're also going to quickly show you, once we grind them down, the pieces become too large, and we must sift them through our sifter, and this is a pretty fine sifter, kind of like for fine flour. But we're going to grind the acorns, put them through a sift, get that fine material to go into our bowl, and then take the larger material that's left over and put that back into our grinder. We're using just a regular type meat grinder, as we said, and we're going to give that another pass and start grinding away. Now, what we're doing is we're turning the grinder in each direction. We kind of want to churn it in there a little bit to get the pieces broken up. If you force it, you're going to get larger pieces, and then you're going to have to try and sift those or give it another pass. So you kind of go back and forth with the grinder. And here you can see where we're adding some of the nut of the acorns, grinding it, turning it. Okay, some of them we're putting back. We're going to get larger pieces. But this is just the tedious process of processing acorns, grinding them down by hand. But it's thoroughly enjoyable. I love doing this. I really have a lot of fun. It's not really work. I think that the acorns and making acorn bread is fascinating. I just love every step of the way. I feel like I'm going back 150 years in time. Nearly all of our ancestors used to process food like this, guys. Doesn't matter where you're from. But this is the process, just grinding, getting it small, and then sifting. And here you can see our end result. We have ground all our acorns. You can see what it looks like there as it comes out of the grinder. And now we've sifted it, and we have some decent fine acorn ground up. This is the amount we ended up with from that bowl before. We have about a good cup of fine acorns. Now what we do is we're going to put that in this bowl, okay? And now what we have to do, guys, is the acorns are still bitter. They're bitter. They're not, you can't just eat them like this. They have something in it called tannin. And what we have to do is we have to put water in the bowl. And what we're going to do is we're going to do this every day for like 2 weeks, maybe more. But when we put this water in, what's going to happen, the bitterness of the acorns is going to rise to the surface, okay? And the water will become discolorated. Here you can see just after a few hours, you can see the water has turned brown. That's the tannin. Then you pour that out and add more. This is going to take 2 or 3 weeks to complete this process here. So now here are our ingredients. One of them is Bulgur wheat, which is a fine wheat kernel. It's ground. It's not ground as fine flour. And we're using a previous batch of acorn flour that we had made back in the fall. So we have fine flour, Bulgur wheat, and acorn flour that we're mixing together. We're not measuring. We're just kind of pouring in a mix in a bowl here, as you can see. And then we're going to add to this some water. And we're going to add some olive oil. And again, not really measuring, just kind of eyeballing it. Here we're adding the water, maybe about a half a cup or so. And we maybe have a little bit more of a cup of those 3 ingredients of the acorn flour, and fine Bulgur wheat. Adding the olive oil, mixing them together. And it's a little bit coarser. I don't know if you can really see there, but it's a little bit coarser than what you would have it with like a bread, which I think is really good. It makes it really tasty. And what we're doing is we're just kneading this down a little bit. We don't have to knead it as much as bread, and we're kind of flattening it down, and we're going to make 3 patties from our mix here. And then simply we're going to just take those patties and bring them into the kitchen on the stove and cook on a frying pan. That's our approach at Unleavened Bread, guys. Very, very simple. So here you can see one of the patties, patty number 1. We're trying to get it to where there's no cracks, but we get a good, decent patty without little cracks or crevices in it that might separate once we begin cooking on the stove. So that's patty number 1. Now we go and take another piece of dough, begin flattening it out into a patty as well. And as well, we're trying to get any cracks out of it, adding any other dough that's there to get a nice, decent patty that won't fall apart once we're frying it on the pan. So guys, this is our approach at Unleavened Bread. So even if you don't use the acorns or the coarse Bulgur wheat like we have here, this is a way that you can make unleavened bread. Simply put, you just get some fine flour, add some water, add some olive oil, and make it into patties. Okay, this is very easy to do. In order to get the proper mix, you may make some attempts, as we've done. But I'm very confident in this. Now I feel very good about being able to make something consistently. It's good every time. I'm not messing up all the hard work I put into making the acorns. And I really enjoy sharing this with you. I appreciate you watching. I appreciate you listening. And yeah, we're trying to get the leaven out before our Passover season. All right, guys, so our last step in the process is to take our patties, and what we're going to do is we do actually have an electric oven, but I'm not going to use that. I'm not going to experiment with that because I'm just not sure how it works. So what we're going to do is something everybody can do. We're just going to fry in a frying pan on the stove. So we have our patties. We're just going to add some olive oil to our pan and simply just cook that on the stove. So I'm going to use this slow burner here that's made essentially for coffee, just because I don't want it too hot. Okay, here we go. And add some olive oil, throw in the patties, and have at it. So very simple. Actually let that warm up a little bit. Maybe give it a lid. Kind of give it a lid, hold the heat inside, and this is going to be our finished patties of our acorn bread, an acorn unleavened bread. So with this here, we're going to be a little bit patient and just let that warm up. And essentially, once it just starts, you see it like dark brown, and you see the dark browning effect, then you know it's pretty much done. So nothing really special here, guys. This is last step in the process, and it ends up being good. So we'll take a look. Okay, there's our first flip, and there you can see our status, how we're doing. Now, one of the things you guys might know better than me, but once we leave these sit, apparently they will rise a little bit. So once we flatten them, we make them patties. We essentially want to cook them straight away in the frying pan, so there's no rising of the yeast. Okay, if you take a look, it's beginning to brown a little bit. It's kind of drinking up our olive oil. It's cracking just a little, because we probably didn't do the best job of kneading it, but that's okay. So you can see it kind of broke in pieces, but that's okay. It's still going to taste good. I might even try a little piece, see how we're doing. Oh, not bad. I think we're just about there. It hasn't cooked all the way through the fine wheat. It's called that Bulgur wheat. Hasn't cooked all the way, but that's okay. It's still very good. It's more of a it's a stout taste. It's very filling. It is good, guys. But I'm just going to give it one more flip. Yeah, there we go. kind of what I was looking for when I did this before, is see this browning. That's kind of our finished sign, indication we're done. Once I see that, I'm like, okay, good. I think we're just about there. So we'll get that on the other side, and that'll be our first one. All right, here's our first one. Now we're on to our second one. Same process. And we'll keep an eye to see if we can kind of keep it from breaking apart like this one. So there we go, guys, unleavened bread. All right, we're still on our second one, and it's just about done. I think one of the reasons this one kind of broke apart as well, I was using a spatula. So let's see how this looks. You can see how it looks on this side. And there you can see the other side. You can see it browning a little bit. Looking good. All right, guys, and now here's our third one. You can see it up close. And I feel like it's a good mix of, it's certainly not doughy, but it's also not hard as a rock. So if we take a piece, you can see, how it's, it's cooked, it's thoroughly cooked, but when you eat it, it's not undercooked. It's, oh, it's good, guys, it's perfect. All right, here's how we set it up for lunch, guys. We got the pesto and onions and tahini and onions with our unleavened bread. Glory to his name. So there we go, guys. Isn't that amazing? Unleavened bread from Acorns. Now, of course, it's not totally from Acorns, but we had a good portion of it, I don't know, a third to a half of our unleavened bread is from Acorns. It's from this tree right here. That tree gave us the acorns. And I hope you enjoyed this. This is also for those of you that want to just make unleavened bread, obviously without acorns. This is the process, simple process and approach we're having. There's, of course, many other ways of doing it. I'm not saying this is correct, but many people have asked, so we're sharing. So as well, check out Prophet's Diet, Ezekiel bread, and Hag Samek means happy holidays, happy Pesach, happy Passover.